Ah, well. Duskmourn pre-release is upon us. So, yeah, I attended the first of two Duskmourn pre-releases at Bad Wolf Gaming in Hull. Link to the website in the description, not sponsored, they're just cool. And just quickly run through the deck that I built and a few of my pulls. Give me a second to grab the noteworthy stuff from here, I'll be right back. Okay, starting off with some honourable mentions, but fucking brilliant tokens from this set. Look at this spider. This is probably my new favourite copy token as well. Like, oh, was it Thunder Junction ones that had like thermal vision thing going on? They were pretty cool, but like, look at this thing. God damn. And of course, one last bonus nod to this lovely General Wilson artwork. Anyway, onto the rares and stuff that I pulled but didn't use. This is between the pre-release packs and prize packs, which we'll get to in a moment. So, we have Reluctant Role Model, which is going straight into Optimus Prime. This is... I haven't worked out what I'm cutting from the deck yet, but this is basically Ozolith on a creature, which is too good to not run in there. The new Red Leyline from our prize packs. Probably find a home for this, might try it at standard. Demonic Council, pulled it but didn't really run it just because, like, there weren't really... I had one demon in the pre-release deck. The Jolly Balloon Man. It's basically Pennywise. Yeah, this pulled it. Wasn't in these colours. Pretty sure Student has dibs on this one. Enduring Tenacity. Pulled it but didn't really have much in the way of life gain or enchantment matters, so... This is going into an Abzan deck I'm cooking up. Marina Vendrell's Grimoire. I kind of like this. It's not the most useful card, but it is very interesting. You know, like, it counterplays one of the best cards in my deck, technically, but is what it is. Then we have Kona, which I just like the artwork. And Roaring Furnace, Searing Sauna. Deals down equal number of cards in hand to target creature and opponent controls, or you have no maximum hand size, draw on your end step. I also want to point out that they brought back Survivor as a card type, which I find very funny. Because this means that, I forget the full card name, it's on screen now, basically, whenever you deal damage to an opponent, they create that many 1/1 survivors. Survivors they control can't block and can't attack me. When Darian dies, in control of all survivors. Which means that, like, ordinarily this means that you get control of all the survivors of Kildor, but as it stands, they bring with them potentially a cheerleader, a cartographer, and a weird dog. Which I genuinely fucking love. Technically it's a flavour loss, but it's such a weird flavour loss that I don't care. Anyway, onto the deck itself, which is Sleep this time. You know, actually Sleep this fucker. Just gonna shuffle that one out of the way. Yeah, these sleeves may be making their channel debut here. We'll see if this goes up before the Volo video. Anyway. Yeah, we have Out of Focus. Thank you. Appendage Amalgam. Not bad. Terramorphic Expanse, I pulled 2, so I ran 2. Innocuous Rat. Nice cheap creature, let me manifest some dread. Unable to Scream. Useful bit of removal, to be fair. Like, it's good in sealed, because it can also be used to shut out Manifest Dread and prevent it from turning face up. It's decent in standard, because it can do the same thing against certain other strategies, not anything really relying on... Oh, how at this point it does that. Manifest Dread and... Disguise, I think it is. You know, but it's viable in standard. Maybe as a sideboard piece if your opponent's doing stuff like that, but regardless, a giant creature loses all abilities and a toy artifact creature with base power and toughness 0/2 in addition to its other types. This is decent as a way of shutting out your opponent's dangerous shit. And it's a 1-drop. Genuinely pretty okay. Clammy Prowl, this was one half of the wombo combo. I mostly just use the attic half of this draw piece. Cracked Skull, another decent bit of removal. You can force someone to ditch a card, and also when enchanted creature does damage, destroy it, meaning that you can screw them over in other ways as well. Final Vengeance. I did at one point sack. Where'd it go, actually? Let's skip ahead slightly. So, Meatlooker and Drowned Diner is a great one to run alongside Final Vengeance, as once both runs are unlocked, it is dead on board. And you can safely sack it to Final Vengeance, just as basically a free exile. Glimmerburst, I had 2 of these. I pulled 2 of these, I ran them both, they were extremely useful. Unstoppable Slasher is the other half of the Prowler wombo combo, which I kind of got off in game 4. Basically, whenever Climber Prowler attacks, another target attacking creature can't block this turn. Unstoppable Slasher, Death Touch. When Unstoppable Slasher deals combat damage to a player, they lose half their life rounded up. When Unstoppable Slasher dies, if it had no counters on it, return it to the battlefield tapped under its opponent's control with 2 stun counters on it. Under its owner's control. So basically, game 1, I was against friend of the channel Jonathan in a match that ran extremely long because round 1 neither of us actually saw a win con. Round 2 went to turns and I managed to not die by basically appearing to a defensive strategy so that I didn't die in round 2 and won rather than drew. Game 2, I was against friend of the channel Maya, who had just the worst conceivable luck. She was in Jund Ramp and saw all but 3 of her lands and nothing else in game 1. Like, top 16 cards of our deck, 13 of them were lands. It was insane. I had no choice but to win there and felt bad about it. Then game 2, similar thing happened. She was unlucky with the deck. We played a casual game as game 3 once the results were in. And, you know, she absolutely kicked my ass, as was expected to happen. So, like, yeah, 100% luck. Round 3, I was against one of the Joshes. Now, this Josh in particular is a regular at one of the other game stores that has a slightly high level meta, which is to say he kicked my ass. Which meant that I was out of the running for 1st and 2nd, but I was in for 3rd or 4th. And this was 10 entrants, top heavy prizing. 1st place was 10 packs, 2nd was 6, 3rd was 4. So I was up against this guy James, that I played against a few times. Tends to be a fun opponent, to be fair. Like, I remember I had a really good match against him once with my mono white deck, where the outcome came down to like whether or not you could dredge with no cards left in deck, and we agreed to call it a draw because, like, we're the opponent. Anyway, yeah, 1st game he managed to kill me. He was also in Demir. 2nd game, it was looking close. He was on about 30 odd life, and then I got these 2 on board after expending all his removal and forcing him to discard his own win con. And there was nothing you could do from that point. And we agreed that seeing as we were both there late as hell already, we'd accept the draw instead of going to game 3 so that we could leave and split the prize packs, 2 packs each. Anyway, yeah, rest of the deck. Found footage, which I like is apparently an audio cassette. Yeah. Useful one in sealed, not really seeing much use for it elsewhere. Commune with Evil is just feels like a really good card, to be fair. Like, yeah. Look at the top 4, put 1 into your hand, the rest in the graveyard, and also gain life for some reason. Sure, that one actually is probably going to go in a deck after this. Fear of Imposters. Nice counterspell, I'm not sure I used it as such. Meatlocker, Drowned Diner. Basically stun something, draw some cards, but once they're both opened, it's dead on board. So you can safely, sack it to something. There's one that feels like it might have value eventually in Standard, if you're in, like, a bargain-heavy deck. Like, it's an enchantment that you can safely sack once you've used it. Anyway, the 2nd copy of Terramorphic, Keys for House. Yeah, it's okay. It's a ramp piece. I used it once to actually get a discount on Drowned Diner, but that was the only noteworthy play for it. Fnatic of the Harrowing is fine. This was what I forced Jane to discard his Wincon with, not knowing it. That was his last card in hand, so that worked out pretty well. Paranormal Analyst is a good one if you got a Manifest Dread heavy deck. I pulled 2 copies of Milky Sewer, I ran them both. Sporogenic Infection is a fun way of force. It's a fun variety of force sack that I kept waiting to use in that first game against Maya, but she never drew into a second creature, and so I would never have gotten value from it. Second copy of Murky Sewer. Winter's Intervention is quite really good, basically. It pings something for 2, you gain 2 life. It's perfectly good. Flood Pit's Drowner is a good way of getting rid of a dangerous thing on board. Yeah, flash it on your opponent's turn, tap it and stun it. Your turn, pay 2. Bye bye. Stick Twister, I managed to get online a couple times. It's actually fairly decent. Note that Stick Twister itself deals damage to its power equal to each opponent, and it has lifelink. So your opponent's choice is basically sack, discard, I gain 2, you lose 2. Stocked Researcher, early game Defender creature, not bad. Second copy of Glimmer Burst. Twist Reality, I think I only really used as another counter spell. Fairy of Lost Teeth, it's nice to keep 1 drop. Killer's Mask, hi Jason. Yeah, I think I used this once, it's fine. And then the win combo I never got to play. The Valgabus is coming, and everybody's streaming. New Capenna to Duskmourn, an Intercity Bloodbath. Anyway, yeah, I pulled Valgabus. I had no plans for it. Friend of the channel Tori was called Dibs, and yeah, I kind of wish I'd gotten to play it at some point. It's a card that I might have used for it, but I'm happy with the less sought after showcase version, because I like the showcases in this set, for the record, like the weird TV frame ones. I know that they're fairly unpopular because price-wise they're a lot lower than the regular printings. That's fine by me. I just like a version of Valgaroth for the Demir Theft deck that I'm working on, because you know, it feels like it's more viable in Commander, where you're more likely to get the 9 mana to cast it. Like in Sealed, you're gonna need a Reanimate spell. I didn't pull a Reanimate spell, so I didn't really get to use it, but I don't care. Anyway, yeah, that was casual pre-release. Sorry, that was competitive pre-release. I'll see if I merge casual into the same video, or if I upload that separately, but this has been my deck. No, excuse me, I have, this and a, this, then this, one more swamp than island. I forget the exact numbers. Is what it is. Anyway, I will see you next time for probably casual pre-release. We'll see how that one goes. Have a good. Okay, so casual pre-release has now been gone, and I had a fucking great time with this. So, pulled the white dice traded for the blue one with friend of the channel Jen, just because I built the mirror in the first one, and I want some funky little memento of that. We'll look at the deck first, and then miscellaneous cool shit that I've also pulled. Whoop. If you'll give me a second to get that sorted. Okay, so I mostly built Gruul for this, but, well, we'll get there when we get there. Impossible Inferno, pretty decent card and Sealed. Always showed up when I needed it. One of the reasons why I did as well as I did. It was 3 rounds this time, rather than 4, which meant that we got to go home at a reasonable hour. First round, I lost either 2-0 or 2-1, I forget. Second round, I got the bye and played a casual game against someone else that was also there and had bought a pre-release kit, and just won 2-0. Third game, I won 2-0. I placed like 7th overall, which feels good enough. Anyway, so, yeah, Impossible Inferno, routinely showed up exactly when I needed it. This deck likes me. Norrin absolutely nuts in this format if you have like a handful of cheap creatures you can swing with. Because it means that whatever gets blocked gets to stick around. Freaking Needlehead was my promo, which was lucky as hell. This is going into a deck that I'm cooking up. This was the only room I ran this time. Vengeful Possession. It's perfectly good. It lets you ditch and draw at the very least. Peer Past the Veil. Extremely strong if you're already building Delirium. Which conveniently I was. Vicious Clown. It's fine. It gets big when stuff happens. Cartographer. Never managed to get his ability to proc, but I don't really care. If you're being hunted, I set it in after the first game, after alluding to it and remembering that I'd pulled it, wondering why I wasn't running it already. Especially when I had something that cared about rooms and then running only one room. Anyway. Clover Percussionist, Monkey. Strangled Cemetery. Oh yeah, basic lands for this one was 1 swamp, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 islands, and 1, 2, not islands, forest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and like 9 mountains. It's a very red, I pulled a lot of red and ran most of it. Anyway, turn inside out. Trail of Agony. This is a fun one. You just put your opponent's creatures in the soul trap. I spent a surprising amount of time just like waiting for opponents to get 2 creatures on board so this would work though. Terramorphic, just 1 copy this time. Horrid Vigor. Nice little cantrip. Irreverent Gremlin. Look at this little man. Look at him. He's adorable. I like that Gremlins are back as a creature. Anyway, yes. Yeah, I easily built it a couple of times. Mostly it was a 2-mana 2/2 Menace, which was just useful. Especially paired with Flesh Borrower. Because Menace Death Touch in this format is very useful, especially when you also have Norrin on board and can choose to exile the Flesh Borrower instead of letting it die. Untimely Malfunction is possibly one of my favourite cards in the deck. Fully intend to slap this into my standard and see what happens. Just because, like, rerouting a spell in red is fun as hell. Like, game 1, I rerouted someone's aura onto the Gremlin. It was brilliant. Manifest Dread. Which lets you Manifest Dread. This is going in the same deck as Needlehead and Peer Past the Veil. Under the Skin, Manifest Dread, and also Permanent from Bin to Hand. Yep, that same thing. Bear Trap. Found Footage is honestly pretty fun. This, I got good use out of consistently. Like, even just as 3 mana Avail to draw 1, it's decent in Sealed and Limited. Razor Trap Gorge, the third of 3 sources of black that I mentioned. And I wasn't planning on running black, and I realised that if I run 1, I can do something. And if I run 2, I can do something else, but if I run 3, I have a chance of doing something very funny. Anyway. Yeah, turn inside out. Nice bit of interaction. On now to the rest of the fancy shit. Ghost Vacuum was part of a 1-more combo that I managed to use only in the casual game, unfortunately, which is where I did all the fun stuff. Basically, you exile something with ludicrous abilities from your graveyard, having sent it there via Manifest Dread. And then sack Ghost Vacuum, bring it back, and you'll see what my target was fairly soon. Tyvar and Foil Tyvar, very nice, never drew into it. Well, I drew into it once in the casual game. Or was it game... No, it was game 3, I drew into it, and I was mana screwed and never got the second green pip the entire game. I won with 3 mana on board, in sheer luck. Now, I realised that if I ran 1 black, I could run Winter. And have, like, 3 sources of black, passable odds of casting him. When I drew into him, I did manage to cast him. Pretty consistently. I'm actually planning on building him, just because his delirium ability is just fun as hell, basically. It's just the rudest possible thing. As long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, each opponent's maximum hand size is equal to 7, minus the number of those card types. So let's say you're even just building something fairly basic, and you have creature, you have instant, you have sorcery, you have artifact and enchantment, which is pretty easy to do in Commander. Your opponent's maximum hand size is 2. If you run Battle, Planeswalker, and Kindred, there is a very real chance that your opponent's maximum hand size is -1. And I don't even know how that works. Anyway, yeah, I realised if I ran 2, I could get Leyline of the Void on the go, and I did manage. The reason I kept the risky hand in game 3 was so I could start with Leyline. Anyway, the reason I ran 3 sources of black is so I could cast it if I had to, in theory. Well, 2 sources. The reason I ran 3 sources is because I pulled this motherfucker again. Brilliant! Like, I was just thinking after the first one, like, it'd be nice to run it in something. If I pull another copy, then maybe. But, like, a friend of the channel, Tora, was building Rakdos Valgavoth. I have now played against that. It was terrifying. It was Archenemy without playing Archenemy. It took all 3 of us to defeat it. And even then it was mostly luck on my part. My Optimus Prime deck sort of popped off in 2 very different, specific ways at different times. That got me the win there. Anyway. Yeah. So, Valgavoth would be nice in the deck that this looks for. It's going in a different deck instead. It's going in the Dimir one that I'm brewing. So, yeah, and we also placed like 7th out of maybe 15, which, good enough. Because it was casual, I still got 2 prize packs though. However, from my regular packs, I did also pull the Swarm Weaver, which I have no immediate plans for, but I like the Scarecrow at the back. I pulled Office Hall, which, you know, it's a fun one. Might end up running this somewhere? I don't know yet. I just got a nice Supreme Verdict that goes in Heliod, so I'll probably pass on that. Leyline of Mutation, which is my second copy. I picked up a collector booster earlier in the day and pulled the extended art from that. So I'm probably going to run the extended art in the Eldrazi deck that I'm cooking up, and we'll probably see a friend of the channel, Josh, wants this one. He plays a lot of Wooburg. Overlord of the Flood Pits, when I went to the prize pack stuff. And, yeah. I played against this briefly, but didn't really see it in action. Then, that was my first pack. Everything else is from my second pack. And weirdly, both the cards after Opponent Oculus were in backwards, which is how I knew I had 2 rares. For whatever reason, the prize pack, the box that the prize packs were pulled from had, like, this weird thing where half the time the rares were backwards. Anyway, yeah, Opponent Oculus, it's a big eyeball. And I like that eyeballs, I like that Eye as a creature type is getting more support. Less Killer doesn't really have an archetype around it. It doesn't really have a commander for it yet, so you can't quite build Dimir Eyes. But you're getting there. Vandrel's Grimoire, same thing I got as my promo from the first one, but yeah, these showcase frames are kind of unpopular, but I really like them. And Balustrade Worm, which friend of the channel Toru has claimed that I'm already scared of, because it's a 5-mana 5/5 uncancelable trample haste. And if you're Delirium, you can pay 4 to return it to battlefield. Because, you know, scary. Anyway, yes. This was second pre-release. I had, as always, a really fucking good time. Pre-release is always a really fun format. And I highly recommend you try it out. Yeah, that's about all there is to say, really. I have plans to start building a winter deck from this. Do I want to put Ghost back in? Yeah, probably not. Yeah, I'm planning on building a winter deck around this, and my goal is to have, basically, Golgari Reanimator, enough Friday card types to get value from winter, and red for haste, and then for high value targets to reanimate, Eldrazi. This way, I can call the deck Eldrazi Winter. Like, game plan is basically to fight a battle on 3 fronts. You've got the Delirium half of Winter's ability punishing everyone's hand size. You've got the other half, and then draw punishers like my boy Razorkin here to deal burn damage. and then you have the actual strategy of the rest of the reanimate strategy of the rest of the deck to maintain a threatening board presence. So the goal is to fight a battle on 3 fronts. And as any history student will tell you, fighting a war on multiple fronts is an extremely good idea that has never not paid off for anyone. Anyway, see you next time.